Hey everybody. So this is our final project for Info Studies 110. My name is Siobhan and my partner's name is Cam. It's a little choppy because we actually pieced this together since I'm in California and Cam's out in Wisconsin. But yep, this is our final project. So thanks so much for watching.
Thingiverse, the world of 3D printing.
And Reddit is known as the front page of the internet. Part 1. Description and history.
What is Thingiverse? It was created in 2008 by Zach Smith and Bree Pettis and is owned by MakerBot Industries. It is dedicated to sharing user-created designs and is an open source content.
Reddit was created in 2005 by Steve Huffman and Alex Ohanian. And there were a lot of similar websites. I mean, most of these are still around, so I shouldn't say there were. But there's like 4chan, Slashdot, StumbleUpon, Fark, Something Awful, Newgrounds. But the big one was Dig. Dig was like the site to go through for like news and stuff. It was actually a year older than Reddit. It started in 2004. And at its height around 2006, it was worth over $180 million. But when it was sold in 2012, it only sold for $500,000. So what happened? What happened to Dig? Well, basically, Dig had been updating its user interface and kind of changing its algorithms, and it started to alienate its users. It started really promoting ads, and they kind of had the whole upvote, downvote thing that Reddit has, but they started pulling away from that, with sponsored posts and stuff. So it was August 30th, 2010 was the Dig version 4 Exodus. So they came out with version 4 of their user interface, and it just completely stripped everything that people had loved about Dig, everything that Reddit had. So a lot of people started posting on Dig, hey, come on over to Reddit. And Reddit embraced this. As you can see, there's they were trolling. They changed their font, they changed their logo, so you can kind of see what they were doing there. And I was one of the millions of people that switched from Dig to Reddit and never went back. Actually, in those remaining 4 months from September to December of 2010, Reddit's user base tripled in size, and it's been number one ever since. It's actually currently the fourth most trafficked site in the United States and number 6 globally. Part 2, data and information processing.
How is Thingiverse organized? It is organized by comment sections, featured collections, global feed, which shows the latest activity, recently made projects, Twitter, Instagram, Thingiverse blog, Reddit subgroups, and the Thingiverse app, which is for Android and iOS.
By comparison, getting into Reddit is mostly a social site, so the information is organized through the categories or the subreddits, very similar to what the Usenet newsgroups were. The comments are often moderated by bots or actual humans, but there are lots of bots on Reddit.
How is information organized on the back end? All data is sent and received on JSON. All access is over HTTPS, which is the internet, and all authentication is done via OAuth2 bearer tokens.
For Reddit, the information is organized. The basic code is written in Python, like the core of Reddit. And they actually call it the blob. This is just this chunk of archaic code that they've just kind of been working off of. And one interesting thing about how Reddit is organized is, or like how they do their database, they actually don't use MySQL, which is the most common database coding or language. They use Apache Cassandra, which is open source, and they only use open source software for their databases. So RabbitMQ, Memcache, other ones like that. So part 3, display and communication.
What does Thingiverse look like? Here are a few examples. One is the home page. The other is a search that I did. And you can also see the comments section just a little bit.
By comparison, we have So Reddit's user interface, strangely, has not changed in over 10 years, which is crazy when you think about it. So for an example, this was Reddit back in 2008. And if you don't believe me, you can look at the headlights. It's 2008. And this is it in 2018. And the only difference here really is that it's being seen on a different monitor, because my monitor is huge. But this is just like a typical post. And so you can see up in the corner, it's the subreddit under R Gaming. And then there's the content, which may or may not be Skyrim. And then there's some comments about, what people were saying and stuff. And all around, there's karma. So people interacting with the site and saying yes or no, I like this, I don't like this. And that's basically what Reddit looks like. All right, so part 4. Human factors. So for human factors, initially I was going to show you guys all of the 10 usability heuristics for interface design by Jacob Nielsen, but you can see there's a lot that can go on with that. So we just picked a few that we'll cover for each of our sites, so don't worry about that. Okay, so for Thingiverse, it's really user-friendly. There's a lot of really nice design elements that they have. So covering these, you can see that without even really knowing the site for Heuristic 6, you can kind of understand how to navigate it, which also ties into Heuristic 7, where it's very flexible. There's multiple ways that you can access a project. You can search for it. You can go through the categories. You can see it through the featured page. Looking at Heuristic 8, there is a very simplistic style to how they've organized the projects and the categories, and a lot of use of photos, which is great, or images. And also they have a whole tutorial area and documentation. It really helps people understand how to use the site and how to use the schematics for 3D printing. Reddit also has some good things, some things that could be improved upon. I would say that once you are comfortable with how to navigate Reddit, it's pretty easy, but initially there is a steep learning curve because it's just like a bunch of leaks. So it is minimalist in the design, I would say, very minimalist. So that it has going for it. And also there's a lot of help and documentation for Reddit. There's whole pages and subreddits, whole blogs dedicated just to helping people navigate through and understand Reddit. So that's really nice. All right, so part 5, information professions.
The information professions for Thingiverse include CAD designer, CNC laser cutter, 3D artist, 3D design, research and development, architecture, construction modeling, and 3D printing as service jobs.
For Reddit, just looking at who they're hiring for, it's mostly software engineers, but there are a lot of available jobs right now if anybody out there is looking. So yeah, mostly software engineers, but there's also data engineers, which includes the internal framework and layout of how the information is processed. There's project managers, and they have specifically an anti-evil engineer posting, which is kind of to help promote the safety and make sure that the really bad stuff doesn't go through Reddit that can get filtered out. So, and I mentioned it before, but the admins and mods in the subreddits, the people who kind of police their own communities, they are not paid positions through Reddit. They are just volunteers. So, for the love of it, I guess. All right, so part 6, social issues.
A few great things about Thingiverse are that it's easy to make prototypes. You can make replacement parts or upgrades for just about anything. There are lots of gadgets and toys to 3D print, and you can also customize and remix designs. On the not so great side, there are a lot of copyright issues, and there's a lot of making useless objects.
For Reddit, because it is mainly a social website, there's a lot. So there's, sad alien. So there's good, there's bad, there's very bad. But just to go over it, with good, some examples are, it really does bring people together, especially under similar interests or communities, hobbies, but also for people who have experienced trauma or have other behavioral, emotional, anything that they're really dealing with that's difficult to talk about. Reddit has provided a way for them to, talk to similar people, and it's really helped people heal from trauma and stuff. So that's great. That is good. For bad, sometimes people, like you get really emotional about something and then you get misdirected. So there was an internet witch hunt to find the Boston bomber after the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing. And Reddit pulled together and they picked the wrong person, and they were really harassing to the family. There was a lot of threats to them and suspicion, and it was terrible because not only was he not the bomber, but he actually had been missing for a while and had already committed suicide at the time of the bombing. So it was really horrible, not only for the family to get harassed, but also just the whole situation. It was really bad. Reddit did officially apologize, but it is not the first, and it won't be the last witch hunt that has gone awry on Reddit. And covering it really, really generally, there's a lot of bad stuff on Reddit and a lot of trolling and a lot of mob mentality. So hate speech, xenophobia, misogyny, pro-rape, there's rough stuff. But there are a lot of papers about these. Reddit has been a hotbed for studying social interaction. So I'll link these at the end. But yeah, there's a lot about Reddit. So I'll just keep going. All right. So part 7, accessibility. For both of ours, we're going to be covering social cultural.
On the socio-cultural side, every design on Thingiverse is free to use by anyone who wants to use it. Designs are user-created and submitted, and there is a strong do-it-yourself community aspect of Thingiverse. The not-so-good, only a fraction of internet users have the knowledge of how to access and or use 3D printers and laser cutters or CAD drafting programs. Thingiverse is inaccessible socio-culturally to anyone who falls into this category.
For Reddit, socioculturally, it's really available to anyone. So basically, like for better or worse, any community, any interest, any possible thing you could think of, there's probably a subreddit for it. Like I follow one which is just dogs covered in blankets called babushka dogs. So there's something for everyone, I promise you. One of the bad things, though, is that it's not as comprehensible in that when people make comments, because you can't see, people face to face, there's a lot of assumptions that are made. So the main ones is that they're American, native English speakers, and most people assume that you're a dude. So it puts a burden on anybody that doesn't fall into those criteria because you either have to redirect or correct somebody when an assumption is made, or you just have to put a disclaimer like, oh, by the way, I'm not a dude. So that's kind of a burden that gets put on people, which is unfortunate. Sorry, we're just wrapping up here, but these are some really cool things that Cam found just by searching Thingiverse.
Here are a few useful designs on Thingiverse: a toothbrush holder, a tool holder, and also a flower pot made from 3D printed materials.
Now for my favorite part. So actually, when we were working on this project, on one of the top posts on Reddit the other day was a Thingiverse build.
That is, articulated scissors. They are so safe, you will not cut anything, not even paper, or your fingers. The safest safety scissors this side of the Mississippi.
Look at that, it's so safe, it won't even cut paper. It won't even cut you. It's beautiful. just All right.
Hope you enjoyed our presentation. This is Kameron White.
So again, my name is Siobhan.
Signing off.
So thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.